Something changed, quietly, without announcement. Your money stopped being money. It became raw material. The US, Canada, and Australia just launched coin exchange programs. Trade your old silver quarters for new ones. Simple, easy. But watch what happens to those old coins. They don't go into circulation. They don't go into reserves. They go to the smelter. They get melted. The silver gets extracted. And that silver goes to industrial users who can't source it anywhere else. Your currency is being harvested. Your coins are being mined. The government is strip mining its own monetary history. And when a government treats its currency like ore, when money becomes just another source of metal, the system isn't stressed. It's broken. Ladies and gentlemen, Asian guy here. Let me show you the document they tried to hide on page 47 of a Treasury Department budget proposal. Legacy Currency Modernization Initiative, Fiscal Allocation, 85 million. Purpose, facilitate voluntary exchange of pre-1965 silver content coinage for current circulating denominations. Legacy currency, that's what they're calling it. Your grandfather's quarters, your grandmother's dimes, Mercury dimes from 1942, Walking Liberty half dollars, Washington quarters before they removed the silver. These coins have 90% silver content. They've been out of circulation for decades, but millions of them still exist, in collections, in jars, in safe deposit boxes, in inheritances, and now the government wants them back. The exchange is voluntary. For now, bring your old coins to any participating bank. They'll weigh them, count them, give you equivalent face value in new coins. You get modern quarters, they get the silver. But here's what the document doesn't say. Here's what you have to read between the lines to understand. Those coins aren't going into storage, they're going to refineries, to be melted, to be turned into 0.999 fine silver bars, to be sold to industrial users at spot price. The government is monetizing its own currency history. They're turning money back into metal. Because the metal is worth more than the money. Let me show you the math. Let me show you why this makes sense to them. A pre-1965 quarter contains 0.18084 troy ounces of silver. At current spot price of $80 per ounce, that's $14.47 worth of silver. Face value, 25 cents. The government exchanges your quarter for a new quarter. Cost to them, 25 cents. They melt your old quarter and sell the silver for $14.47. Net profit, $14.22 per coin. Scale that up. There are an estimated 2 billion pre-1965 silver quarters still in existence. That's 360 million ounces of silver. That's $28.8 billion worth of metal sitting in people's drawers. The government can access that metal for the cost of minting new quarters, roughly 200 million, and extract $28.8 billion in silver. That's a 140x return. That's not a coin exchange program, that's a mining operation. And the ore body is your change jar. Now let's look at who's doing this. Let's look at the coordination. United States, Legacy Currency Modernization Initiative, launched December 2025. Canada, Heritage Coin Exchange Program, launched November 2025. Australia, Decimal Currency Upgrade Scheme, launched October 2025. 3 countries, 3 programs, same time frame, same language, same goal. This isn't coincidence, this is coordinated. The Anglosphere governments looked at the silver deficit, looked at their coin stockpiles and realized we're sitting on hundreds of millions of ounces. And instead of buying silver on the open market at $80, instead of competing with China and India, they decided to harvest their own citizens' collections. It's brilliant, it's ruthless, and it's completely legal because technically you're volunteering. Technically, you're exchanging currency for currency at face value. Technically, it's fair, except they're melting history. They're destroying artifacts. They're turning numismatic treasures into industrial feedstock. And they're betting you won't realize until it's too late. Let me show you what happens to the coins after you hand them over. Step 1, collection. Banks aggregate the coins, ship them to Federal Reserve processing centers. Step 2, sorting. Coins are verified for silver content, weighed, cataloged. Step 3, transport. Coins are shipped to contracted refineries, Asahi, Metalor, Sunshine Mint. Step 4, melting. The coins go into furnaces. 90% silver melts at 893 degrees. The copper alloy separates. The silver is cast into bars. Step 5, sale. The bars are sold to industrial buyers, defense contractors, solar manufacturers, electronics companies, whoever the government prioritizes. The coins your grandfather saved through the Depression don't end up in a museum. They end up in a solar panel in Arizona, or a circuit board in Taiwan, or a missile guidance system in Virginia. History becomes commodity. Heritage becomes supply. Now let's talk about what this means for collectors. Let's talk about numismatic value. A 1964 Kennedy half dollar in mint condition used to trade for 30. Numismatic premium on top of silver value. Collectible. Historical. Today, the government will give you 50 cents for it and melt it. The numismatic premium just died. Because if the government is melting coins regardless of condition, regardless of rarity, regardless of historical significance, then condition doesn't matter. A beat-up 1943 mercury dime is worth the same as a pristine, uncirculated one because they both weigh the same. They both contain the same amount of silver, and they'll both end up in the same furnace. Collectors are panicking. Do they sell to the government and take the loss? Do they hold and risk future confiscation? Do they sell to private buyers while there's still a premium? The market is collapsing. Numismatic dealers are reporting 70% drops in premium values. The only value left is melt value. When governments start treating rare coins like scrap metal, collectability dies. Only weight matters. Let me show you the voluntary to mandatory pipeline. Let me show you how this evolves. Phase 1, voluntary exchange. Bring in your coins. Get face value, no pressure, public service. Phase 2, incentivized exchange. Small premium above face value. We'll give you 30 cents for that quarter. Encourage participation. Phase 3, penalty for holding. New regulation. Silver coins above certain quantities must be registered. Failure to register, penalties. Phase 4, mandatory exchange. Legal tender laws updated. Pre-1965, silver coins no longer valid for transactions. Must be exchanged. Deadline imposed. Phase 5, confiscation. After deadline, unredeemed coins are illegal to possess, subject to seizure. We're currently in Phase 1. The timeline to Phase 5, 18 to 24 months. This is the playbook. It's been done before. Executive Order 6102 in 1933. Gold confiscation, same progression. Voluntary became mandatory. Holding became criminal. Silver is next. Now let's talk about the signal this sends. Let's talk about what it means when a government melts its own currency. Signal 1, the shortage is worse than admitted. If there was enough silver available from mines, from refineries, from imports, they wouldn't need to harvest coins. They're melting currency because industrial users are desperate, because factories are shutting down, because the supply chain is broken. Signal 2, the government prioritizes industry over heritage. Cultural preservation doesn't matter. Historical artifacts don't matter. Only keeping the factories running matters. That's the calculus. Solar panels today are more important than monetary history forever. Signal 3, your property rights are conditional. They're not taking the coins by force yet, but they're creating the framework, the infrastructure, the precedent. Once the collection mechanism is in place, once the refineries are contracted, once the legal language is written, flipping from voluntary to mandatory is a single announcement. Let me show you who's selling. Let me show you who's falling for this. Elderly collectors who accumulated coins over decades. They see the government offer. They think, I'll never get a better price. The premium is dead anyway. Might as well take face value now. They bring in collections worth $50,000 in silver. They get $1,400 in new quarters. They think they made a smart decision. They didn't. They gave up their inflation hedge. They gave up their emergency savings. They traded real money for fiat currency. Inheritors who don't understand what they have. Grandpa died, left a coin collection. Kids find it. Old coins, probably worthless. They take it to the bank, exchange it. Don't realize they just traded $30,000 for $800. The government is counting on ignorance, on people not knowing the silver content, not knowing the value, not understanding what they're giving up. And it's working. Hundreds of millions of ounces are flowing back, being melted, disappearing forever. Now let's talk about the coins they're not telling you about. The coins they want most. Morgan silver dollars, peace dollars. These are larger. 0.734 troy ounces of silver per coin. $1 face value. $62 in silver value at spot. The exchange rate is insane. You give them a Morgan dollar worth $62. They give you a modern dollar coin worth $1. But Morgan dollars are iconic. They're collectible. People know they're valuable. So the government is burying them in the program, not advertising it, hoping people don't bring them in. But if you do, they'll take them. They'll give you $1 and they'll melt an American treasure into an industrial bar. Same with pre-1965 half dollars. Same with war nickels from 1942, 1945 that contain 35% silver. Any coin with silver content is fair game, and the government will exchange it at face value if you're uninformed enough to accept. Let me show you the international coordination. Let me show you that this isn't just an American problem. Canada is doing the same thing with pre-1967 silver coins, dimes, quarters, half dollars, dollars, 80% silver content. The Royal Canadian Mint launched the Heritage Coin Exchange. Same structure. Bring in old coins, get new coins. They melt the silver. Australia is targeting pre-1966 shillings, florins, and crowns. 50% silver content. Decimal Currency Upgrade Scheme. Britain is considering a similar program for pre-1947 coins. 50% silver content. Every Commonwealth country is looking at its coinage history and seeing a silver mine, an exploitable ore body that citizens are willingly giving up. This is a global harvest, a synchronized extraction. And it's happening during the worst silver deficit in history. Coincidence or coordination? Now let's address the propaganda. Let's look at how they're justifying this. Modernization. These old coins are outdated. They don't work in vending machines. They're confusing. Let's upgrade to modern currency. Translation, we need the silver. Safety. Old coins might contain lead, might be hazardous. Let's exchange them for safe modern coins. Translation, we need the silver. Convenience. Why hold on to old coins when you can have new ones? Same value, easier to use. Translation, we need the silver. Every justification is misdirection. Every explanation is cover. The real reason is always the same. Industrial shortage, factory desperation, supply chain collapse. They need the metal, and they're willing to erase history to get it. Let me show you the exception. The loophole they left open, probably by accident. Numismatic coins. Coins graded and certified by professional services. PCGS, NGC. Coins and sealed slabs with condition ratings. The program technically only applies to circulated currency intended for exchange. Certified collectibles are exempt, for now. But how long does that exemption last? How long before the government says, certified or not, it's still silver, it's still subject to recall? The grading companies are terrified. If certified coins become subject to exchange, their entire business model collapses. Nobody will pay certification fees for coins that might be confiscated, so they're lobbying, fighting to keep the exemption, but they're fighting against industrial desperation. And desperation usually wins. Now let's talk about the unintended consequence, the signal this sends to savvy holders. If the government is this desperate for silver that they're melting their own coins, what does that tell you about the real supply situation? It tells you the mines can't deliver, the refineries can't keep up, the imports are blocked, the vaults are empty. It tells you the deficit isn't a 2027 problem, it's a today problem. It's so bad they're harvesting pocket change. And if pocket change is the solution, the problem is terminal. So the smart money isn't exchanging coins. The smart money is holding. The smart money is buying more because they recognize desperation when they see it. When the government becomes your competitor for silver, when they're willing to melt history to get it, you're not holding too much. You're holding exactly what they wish they had. Let me show you the next target. Let me show you what they come for after the coins. Silverware, sterling silver, tea sets, serving platters, candlesticks, family heirlooms sitting in cabinets. Sterling is 92.5% silver. Most pieces are heavy. A tea set can contain 50 to 100 ounces easily. There are millions of these sets in homes across America, passed down through generations, rarely used. Just sitting there, that's the next ore body. That's the next voluntary exchange program. Trade your grandmother's silver tea set for a modern stainless steel set, plus a small cash bonus, and they'll melt the sterling, turn it into bars, feed it into the supply chain. After silverware, they'll target jewelry. After jewelry, they'll target religious artifacts. Churches with silver chalices, synagogues with silver menorahs. Everything becomes feedstock. Everything becomes raw material. Nothing is sacred. Only the metal matters. Now, let's talk about the timing. Let's talk about why this is happening now. At the end of 2025, January 2026, new industrial demand kicks in, solar mandates, EV production targets, defense production increases. The government knows those buyers are coming. They know the factories need metal, and they know the supply isn't there. So they're preemptively harvesting, getting the silver now before the shortage becomes visible, before the price spikes, before citizens realize what they're holding. It's a race. Get the coins before people understand their value. Melt them before the market reprices. Deliver the silver to industry before the factories shut down. The timing isn't random. The timing is strategic. This is crisis management disguised as currency modernization. Let me show you the historical irony, the cruel joke at the center of this story. In 1965, the U.S. stopped minting silver coins because silver was too valuable. The metal was worth more than the face value. Gresham's law, bad money drives out good, so they switched to copper-nickel clad. Removed the silver, saved costs. 60 years later, they're trying to reverse it. They're trying to get the silver back, because now they need the metal more than they need the money. They spent 60 years debasing the currency, and now they're paying the price. They're begging citizens to give back the real money they phased out. The system ate itself, and now it's cannibalizing its own past to survive. Now let's talk about the investor's choice. The decision you have to make right now. If you own pre-1965 silver coins, you have three options. Option 1, exchange them, take face value, trust the government, get modern coins. Accept the loss. Option 2, hold them. Ignore the program, keep the silver, risk future confiscation. Option 3, sell them to private buyers. Get silver value. Exit while there's still a premium. Convert to bars or other assets. Each option has consequences. Each option has risks. But one thing is certain. The government is offering you the worst deal. Face value for silver that's worth 50x to 100x more. If that's the offer, it's not a fair exchange. It's a trap. Let me show you the endgame. Let me show you where this goes if it continues. All pre-1965 coins get melted. 2 billion coins, 360 million ounces, gone. The government extracts that silver, feeds it into industry, buys 6 to 12 months of time. But the deficit doesn't stop. The demand doesn't decrease. The shortage continues, so they move to the next target. Silverware, then jewelry, then industrial stockpiles, then private vaults. Layer by layer, they strip the private sector of silver and feed it into the machine, and the machine keeps running. For a while, until the private sector is empty, and then the machine stops, because there's nothing left to take, nothing left to melt, nothing left to feed it. That's the end game, not a solution, a delay, a desperate attempt to buy time by consuming the past. This is the signal. This is the warning. When a government melts its own currency, the system isn't stressed. It's dying. When money becomes raw material, when history becomes ore, when heritage becomes feedstock, the crisis isn't coming. It's here. The coins in your drawer just became the most honest form of currency left, because they still contain what money used to be. Real metal, real value. The government wants them back. Not because they're generous, not because they're helping you modernize, because they're desperate, because the factories are failing, because the supply chain is collapsing, and your grandfather's quarters are the last source of silver they can access without admitting the crisis. The exchange is voluntary. For now, the melting is quiet. For now, the program is friendly. For now. But the infrastructure is being built, the refineries are contracted, the legal framework is ready, and when voluntary becomes mandatory, when the deadline arrives, when the confiscation begins, your choice will be gone. They're harvesting currency, they're mining history, they're strip mining your inheritance. And if you give it to them willingly, you're funding your own impoverishment. The smelter is running, the coins are melting, and the government is pretending it's progress. By the time you realize what you gave up, it will already be gone.